Hello, welcome to Rooted, the Art Arbor podcast. We're here today on our first pod of the new year with episode 7. A very special guest and dear friend of ours, Malia Birchmeier, joining us to talk about a lot of different things related more to the business and legal side of things, which I'm really excited about, and also about her business, Authentic Blooms. So let's get right into it. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, Malia.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the podcast, guys. Really appreciate that. And always excited for what Art Arbor is doing. You guys are just paving the way, honestly, for some really good opportunities for artists, which is just fantastic because it's always needed. So, yeah, my background, I have a master's in business administration, and I have an interesting background. I wasn't traditionally business. I actually was exercise science and always had a creative gene, was always plugged into music. Actually met both of you guys through the marching band, which is super
Yes,
fun,
sir.
in college. So that's a little bit of just like academic background. And then, like I said, I always had a creative gene. So as much as I love business and science, I had to keep doing something fun. So I picked
Mhm.
floral design, which was a little bit like it was different. I wasn't expecting to fall into this kind of an art form, but with some encouragement from a mentor, she said, "You know what? You have the knack, you have the eye, so go ahead and design." So 2021, I opened up my LLC, which I'll talk about a little bit later, and started Authentic Blooms. Thank you for pulling up my Instagram. This is where I keep all of
Sure.
my portfolio and photos of clients. So you can see I work with wedding clients specifically, but I do custom design as well. It's an interesting world because it's all wholesale. So it has to be, multiple designs or multiple bouquets. I don't traditionally do just one unless someone wants to cough a bunch of money at me, which is fine too. So always a good thing. And yeah, I see Valerie's on there. She and Jake had me do their wedding, which was so special, so fun. She was one of my very first super colorful weddings, which I absolutely
Yeah.
loved. Of course, all the purples in the world. Can't
Yeah.
miss.
Is this hers right here?
It'll be I think the next one over.
Okay. There's
Yeah,
that one.
yeah, right
Nice.
there. There she
Yeah.
is.
It's a great
Queen
picture.
Val. Yeah, it's so fun. I love working on her florals and just to get to use colors and honestly, this is kind of where the art form ties in. Like when you're working for clients, you're still the artist, but you're capturing a vision for them. So for Valerie, it was like really colorful. She wanted some of the she's from Mexico, so she wanted to tie in that element of fun and boldness and brightness, and she loves the color purple. So she gave me a ton of
Mm.
creative freedom with the flower types, and we just, we had a couple meetings and talked through what she wanted and got to pull that whole look together, which was really awesome.
Mm.
Yeah, well, sometimes when
Nice.
you're working with clients on creative projects, they take total control, or sometimes they give you the reins. So it's definitely nice when someone just gives you a vision and lets you go take off with it. Like with our
Mm.
band in the blue, we'd always have the same thing where
Mm.
some weddings we would have a fully written out set list. Here's all these songs we want you to play. Or sometimes they're like, yeah, we just like Miles Davis and cool jazz and go for it and create a vibe for us. So it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
always nice when you get to do that.
Even times I feel like they'd hand us arrangements, and I'm like, okay, it's got to be a little extra here because it's taking some time to learn these things. But
Yeah.
or it'd be no, complete freedom. So it's
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
I definitely, for what I do, I like a little guidance because when you're designing for a wedding, it's such a special occasion, and you work with a bride that's been dreaming about this their whole life, right? So I guess my point is you'll get a client that might have a really specific vision, and it takes patience and skill set to really learn how to weave in their ideas to create something that will mean a lot for them. But it's still your art form. Like I'll tell you how many of the same Pinterest pictures I've received from brides. They're like, "Can you make this?" And it always looks a little different because it's like your signature, like it's
Mm.
your own thing. The other thing that's fun and different about my art form is I'm working with nature, so it has an
Mm.
expiration date. You know, there there are artists that do flower preservations. That's a completely different skill set in itself, like preserving a real life rose with the color, keeping everything intact. That's it, very time consuming, and very specific. But what I love about it is, one of my mentors used to say, like, don't get too frustrated over where the flower might lay when designing a bouquet or putting something in a vase. You are in control of how you want your shapes and arrangements to fall. So work with the materials, right? And you get to create that design, knowing that that's just the way the nature works. So it's different than it's different than working with paints or things like that. So
Yeah, I'm gonna put this one up on the screen here. I love this one. Every time I look at it, I feel like I see something different. It really encompasses or embodies a liveliness, and how, to your point, we were talking about how those things will decay. They have a shelf life.
yeah. And there's something, in my opinion, there's just something really beautiful about working with real flowers. Like, I've done fake flowers before. It's not as fun to me. I love that I order a flower and it might come in a little bit different shade. Then I have to coordinate the colors and put the different things in different spots, create the textures that will resonate with my bride. And it's just it's just a fun creative process. And man, I remember my very first bouquet took me one bouquet took me about 2.5 hours.
Wow.
So it's brand new. Yeah.
Wow.
Brand new. Now I can whip one up in 30 minutes, or definitely less than 30 minutes, but a brides, I'll actually spend time really working materials. So yeah, I know that it's just a different art form, but people appreciate it. There's a reason why I named my business Authentic Blooms. Like, I truly love working with the real thing. And the other reason is I wanted to tell a story a little bit. I want it to reflect something from the bride that is meaningful to them. Some people, they don't care. They're like, can I just have white and green and do whatever you want? And I'm like, sure. But you get a bride like Valerie who's like, this is why I want these colors. Like, I love purple. I love, the culture I grew up in. How can we incorporate that into the style of the bouquet? And so hers was a great example of just bringing that personality to her bouquet, and just it's so special for a wedding. Like, I spent a lot of time making sure it was perfect for you guys. So
yeah, I think that point you made about having an expiration date is a really important one, because aside from preserving flowers that has this impermanence to it, it almost just makes it so much more impactful to see what you do, because it's taking something that, flowers themselves aren't something that we've created, like it's been created in nature, but then that you're able to take that and make it into something else that is your creation, that is your vision, is really interesting. And, these photos that you have on your Instagram and such are a testament to that there is some permanence to it, that the photography of your creation is something that lasts, that even after the flowers have lived past their useful life for an event, that you have that in those pictures forever. And with what we're working on, and with the future of ownership and investment in digital art assets, that's one thing that I think could tie into a business like this. If anyone listening out there has a business where it's like, I have some type of live performance, or I have some type of, I'm a cake baker, or I'm a florist, or something that is not necessarily meant to hang on a wall in a gallery, right? It's going to be consumed or perish organically, or however you want to phrase it, but there is a way to continue that on into the future, and another way for you to build a business and to build an audience too, and to be able to reconnect with people. Like, makes me think, for example, if you had a client that you did flowers for at their wedding, if you were to create NFTs that are tied to a photo of their flowers that could be offered to guests at the wedding, that everyone there could be re-engaged with online through that digital asset. You could follow up for, a vow renewal, or for, their sister's wedding, or for, an anniversary party or something down the road where you have those opportunities to re-engage with people and build just beyond social media, but have like people having ownership of that and having that opportunity to surprise and delight them along the way. How could you do that? Maybe on their first anniversary, you have that connection to them. You could send them something, even if it's not physical, like here's an NFT of your floral arrangement from your wedding, even if it's just a memento. How could that, lead to something in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think working in the floral industry, especially in a wedding scope, you are weaving in and out with a lot of types of artists. I mean, you think about what it takes to put, I don't know if this is going the right direction for you guys, but you think about the ways that you interact with musicians even that come on site, or you're working with the photographer. Like those are all artists, right? So it sounds like, and I don't know a ton about NFTs, but that could be almost something where you're able to bridge gaps between all the artists that were at that event and create avenues where people can reconnect later and say, man, I really loved my photographer who did this. And I know that this live jazz band came and they were just phenomenal. So it almost can make us like a portfolio of work for other people that we can kind of scope it together. And I don't, like I said, I'm not an NFT expert, but I see avenues of building networks that way, potentially.
There's really not much, it's pretty much an open canvas at this point. So I think, there's a lot of opportunity for that memento that can be held on to and safely for a long time digitally. And like you said, it can bring people together and be a different way to connect to community and save memories as our world becomes so digital. I think kind of bridging this gap between the digital and the physical is going to be more important as time goes on, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if you got, I don't know if this is how NFTs are used, but if you got an NFT from their wedding and let's say it was something with the florals, but then it pulls a sound, like a live sound bite from the day. So like maybe during a cocktail hour, it captured all the, I don't know. I'm just spitting off, but like, it'd be kind of cool, it'd be like one file and it's got a little bit of slice of everything there. It would be special.
Yeah.
So.
You think you just gave somebody a business idea. If you're listening and you want to run with this, I mean, there's potential here. It's like a tested market space.
Free ideas here,
Free ideas.
Free ideas like Lucy and Charlie Brown.
Yeah, I mean, think like a card that you open, it plays music for you, right? But now it's an NFT and it's got your photos, your mementos from the day. Yeah, there's a business idea, guys. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I always innovate and come up with things, even if I don't know what I'm talking about, like NFTs, but it's fun. So
yeah, who knows, Grandma? You could replace the card that she sends you every holiday. It could be an NFT. I have to see my grandparents will do that.
I don't know. It's hard to pass up Grandma's handwriting. It's so good.
There's that too.
Different. It's an art in itself.
Maybe it's a QR code that goes to one that she,
Yeah.
So
funny.
One. Maybe that's me as a grandpa. Who knows? Probably more likely.
Send your grandkids an NFT.
Yeah, be like, hey, happy birthday. Here's an NFT.
You're like, this. That's funny. No, I mean, from the business side, if you guys are good to jump into that realm a little bit. So so like I said, I have a business background and I work at the Small Business Development Center in Michigan, and there's actually small business development centers all across the nation. So I had the privilege of going to the America's SBDC conference back in the fall, and I met someone from Hawaii and Texas and actually North Carolina. North California and North Carolina. So there's SBDCs everywhere. The SBDC overall is funded by the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration. But what the cool thing is that SBDCs offer no cost services for business owners at pretty much any stage. We work with small businesses, but our main goal is to help launch businesses and help them be successful, because there's a lot of ideas out there and a lot of what I like to call entrepreneurs versus an entrepreneur. Yeah, I mean, it's true though. How many people do I see a day that just have an idea, but they don't have the they don't have the grit or the work ethic to back it up. And I'm not trying to be like a dream crusher, but it takes a lot of work to build a business. You guys know this. I've watched you guys build a couple businesses now, and you're great at it. So, but it takes a lot of work, and you know that. So from a helpful standpoint, I opened my business with an LLC. So before I even took on my first wedding, I locked in my LLC, which is limited liability company. Why did I do that? I did that because I know that there are people out there that would sue over something silly. And I also wanted to have that extra layer of protection, because when I'm working with brides, especially in the floral industry, it can get a little dicey. But I also know that there's a level of, honestly, for your client, there's that extra level of legitimacy that you have when you have an established business versus like mom and pop shop out of my basement, which some people operate that way, which is okay. But just for peace of mind for my clients, I love that I can say, yeah, I have an LLC registered. I have a full contract ready to go for you. So you know what you're getting. I'm protected. You're protected. There's no gray area on what services I'm offering you. And I think as an artist, that's a good thing to have in any scope, is just protection. And if you're going to invest in yourself and your business, you have some skin in the game if you're going to put a little money into it. So
I think
the other
I was going to say the other point that's important to bring up with that, aside from the legal protections, is also the fact that you have tax advantages and that you're able to operate a business versus claiming any of those income items as part of your own personal tax situation. So this is definitely not tax advice, disclaimer, whatever boilerplate we need in here for that, but definitely do some research there too, because that's super important. But having an LLC is not very costly, at least in Michigan. The renewal is, in all of the costs associated between basic tax filing, registrations, etc., would probably be less than $500 a year, including hiring a bookkeeper, tax accountant as well. But the LLC itself in most states is pretty affordable. There's not a huge startup cost to it. There's not a lot of paperwork. You usually just have to file articles of incorporation. And Malia, you can set me straight if you want to go into more specifics on that. But it's pretty straightforward to just get started and hit the ground running. It's not like you have to hire a lawyer and thousands of dollars of investment or anything like that.
Yep. I'll be honest. I was the person who, I got my LLC, but I went in with no plan. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have, I think I just was like, let's just do this. I put about $800 into a business bank account, got my LLC, got my license to buy from my wholesaler because they needed me to be a legal business first. So I jumped in, and I know some people, they just do that as well. They'll just jump right in, and other people, they want that the whole plan of all the things. And it depends on, I'll say this, it depends on your, how profitable do you actually want to be? Because walking in with no plan, you're going in blind, truly, because you don't know what you're going to make. You don't know what goals you need to hit to make a certain profit. So why do I say that? Well, the SBDC, one of their resources that I know that our consultants do, is sit down and come up with a projection plan with you. So, and the other piece of that is market research. I think my biggest struggle as a business owner when I first started was pricing, because in the wedding industry, the range is incredible. And because I'm one person and I don't have a ton of overhead, and for those listeners who maybe aren't super familiar with business terminology, overhead is like the cost it takes to make your operations happen. So for a big scale floral owner, it might be the trucks that we need to deliver, all of my staff, all of the equipment, all of the flowers, that's all overhead costs. So I have a very small overhead. I don't carry any inventory. Now, something, I get a lot of people come in asking me for loans and grants or funding, which is a big thing. Funding's a big thing. If you are going to come in and ask somebody for opportunities to look for a grant or a loan, you need to come in with a business plan. There's not a single bank out there that I know that will say, yeah, here's $1,000 and you didn't give them anything to show, here's how I'm going to be profitable. So if money is what you need, then you also need to take time to actually sit down, write out your services, write out how much do you think everything's going to cost you, what would you like to charge, take what you think you can gather as much as you can know and bring that to an SBDC consultant. They'll literally sit down with you and say, hey, this looks good, here's some areas we can sharpen up and polish, here's what you need to go back and work on before you even see a banker. That's the beautiful thing. Like they're like your first step, and they're risk-free basically. Like if you go to a bank with nothing, they'll be like, yeah, get out of here.
Yeah, good luck coming back too. That is huge. Especially, actually, one of my goals this year is to get an SBA loan, and that's super nice to know. As someone for me who I'm looking to find leverage and use leverage, having someone like that to come and kind of be a sounding board is super nice before I go in front of the live real deal, and make a absolute embarrassment of myself by accident. That'd be awkward.
Yes, yeah. Having a sounding board is so good, and like I said, our services are free, so why not use them? I think a lot of people maybe don't know that we even exist, but it's out there, and our goal is to help you. Our goal is to help entrepreneurs get started, or we have entrepreneurs that are growing really quickly and they need help scaling. So that's something else that we do. I just think that having a plan is usually helpful, especially if your goal is to be profitable. Now, for me, like I do my flowers on the side of my regular 8 to 5 job on top of my other 3 jobs. You guys know how I am. So I don't need to be super profitable, but what I did utilize the SBDC for was some market research. So like after I got started, I didn't know where my price point was because I felt like I was spending so many hours on my craft and getting nothing. Like the money I was getting wasn't anywhere near what I felt like it should be. So I went and did my own research on that and had the SBDC pull some, my marketing team like pulled, I think it was regional research on just floral shops and the wedding industry, and realized my profit margin was so bad. It was like 30%, and most profit margin, I'm going to give this secret away. Most of the time, the big floral dogs, if we can say that, their profit margins are like 70%. Yeah. So that's a big jump. So my goal is to be affordable. One of my missions is that I don't think a bride should have to sacrifice the beauty of having real flowers at her wedding because of a budget. So I have a range of profit margin that I'm able to work in to accommodate within reason without, hurting my profitability like I was before.
So essentially you're saying that anyone should come to you or SBDC in general, because it doesn't matter if they're just getting started or if they're already established or some point along the way that these free resources could benefit anybody. So again, it's FREE, free. Take advantage of it.
Exactly. Yes. I think a lot of business owners, small business owners would benefit from, speaking with a consultant and, help yourself out. Like I said, help yourself out and come in with something. You can come in with a blank slate, but I promise you, if you come in with something actually on paper written down that shows your effort level, it's going to make a way better first appointment. We've had so many, I shouldn't say this, I'm going to say it. We've had a lot of tire kickers. They come in with grand ideas, but they don't have anything solidified. They don't even know how much money they can put into their business, or they'll say, I actually don't have any money to put into this business, but I want to start a food truck. Like, okay, how much experience do you have in the food industry? None. I just thought it'd be cool to start a food truck. All right, I'm going to send you to our starting a business resources and circle back with me with a little bit of a business plan layout. I don't care what it looks like. But, I send people home with homework because I want to work with people that are ready to roll,
So if someone in our audience wanted to come get an appointment at SBDC with you or with any of the centers around the United States, what would you recommend as their checklist that they should come in with before? Let's say there's someone that's just getting started. I want to start my food truck. I'm a culinary artist, aspiring culinary artist, what should I do to come prepared?
Great question. So, in the steps to starting the business, the first few steps are just a feasibility and am I actually prepared to own a business, like assessment almost. You can Google that, like just look up business ownership, see what it takes, decide, is this going to be something I can do? Because I can tell you it's going to take a lot of work. The next thing I would do is write out your plan, like write out your dreams. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you can come in and say, I have this amount of experience with this specific industry, so that's something to consider when it comes to feasibility. I have this much money that I can put in right now into my business. Or if I don't have the money, I'm willing to, have collateral on, I don't know, my car, because the bank's probably going to ask for something if you want a loan. A list of materials or supplies that you need, if you don't have them already, is actually super helpful, because one of the first conversations that will happen is the financial conversation. You cannot avoid talking about the cost to start up things. And then your services that you want to offer, or what does this look like? Dream it. What does this look like if I had my full business running? What am I selling? What am I offering to people? What is that product or service that I can give? Write all this stuff down. I think that's a great start point, because at least then I know you took the time to think it through and that you're actually ready. And now you just need help figuring out, how do I achieve all these things? I don't know if that was super clear cut, but that's what I would say.
No, that was good. I mean, that definitely, like, if I would have heard that when I was first starting off, I would definitely have gotten a lot of value from that, because I was very much firing at the hip in the beginning. And it took me time to get organized, and if someone would have helped me early on to get organized from the start, it would have just saved me hours. I have a question. I mean, now if someone is doing art in some capacity on the side, what would you say to them if they're looking to take it from a side hustle to more of like a full-time job, trying to scale up to the next level?
That's a great question. So I would say this, don't drop your full-time job to go full-time on your side hustle, because you actually need the income from your full-time job to fuel your side hustle to be profitable down the road, if that makes sense. I've seen people, some people can pull it off, right? Some people are like, yeah, we're good. It's a low startup cost and I just need to put the work in. If that is something that would work for you, then okay. Most people, though, it needs to be like a gradual, gradually getting into, okay, I'm taking my side hustle into my full-time job, but using my non-productive hours to build my side hustle into full-time, if that makes sense. So if you're going to be a full-scale business owner while you're working a full-time job, and you're like, okay, I'll use my florals, for example, because it's easy. So I work an 8 to 5 job, and let's say I want to go full-time on my floral business. I'm not coming home and watching Netflix for 5 hours. You know what I mean? Like,
or even 1 hour.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, that time block after work, what I like to call like your non-productive hours. Take a couple of those hours to spend time building your business, and that's what's going to help you actually shift from being an employee into a full-scale business owner that operates full-time. That's my advice. I mean, I've done that before. I've spent time just binge watching shows, and man, that just doesn't get you anywhere. Like, it really is a hustle and a grind to take something that you're passionate about and turn it into a full-time thing. But don't quit your job. Meet up with somebody get a mentor, meet with somebody that has a business that did this before you. Like, seriously, the power of mentorship from a coach or somebody that has done what you want to do already. I have to say, it's such a powerful thing to get behind somebody and follow somebody that's willing to help you climb up that ladder. They're going to propel you way faster than if you were just trying to like blindly figure it out,
I would say that's like a huge secret weapon for so many people who we deem extremely successful, is they actually have a bunch of mentors, or have had in the past, if not already still do, but they just don't really talk about it. But that really is, I recently been working more closely with my mentor for my consulting business, and it's been there have been so many times I'm just like, what do I do now? And they come every time and they've got like the next thing for you, and it's literally a blessing.
I mean, you think about if you were a basketball player and you wanted to go pro, do you want to learn from, I don't even know sports. Why did I come up with that analogy? That's like a really great, okay. If you want to
would you want to learn from a middle school basketball team, or would you want to learn from the NBA? There you go.
Exactly. Yeah. That's my point. So find someone in your industry that's walking the walk, that did the work, that is actually willing to coach and mentor you on it, because there are people that they did the work, but they're not willing to turn around and say, hey, let me help you up the ladder too.
I'd say a hack I found is find someone who's older, who's literally looking to retire. Those people are typically the most willing to just hand out everything.
Yes.
That's kind of like a weird hack, but that's what I've found. Like younger people who are sub 30, 40, sometimes you'll find someone who's willing to really teach someone else how to do the thing. But someone who's genuinely interested in just helping you is typically someone who's retired or has retired, and they're out there. You just gotta ask for it and work around the network, and the person will come for sure.
Yeah, that's why community is so important.
Yeah, community is huge,
because if you don't put yourself out there in the community of the arena that you're trying to enter, you're not going to really even know what opportunities are available to you. Like, let's say you're trying to start your own pottery studio. If you are trying to do that alone and you've never went to another pottery studio or worked along someone that's owned one for a long time, even if you're just in their presence, and some people aren't super receptive to taking on a full-time mentor-mentee relationship, but if you can just kind of have that diffusion of their experience, being in the same room with them, working alongside them, that can lead you closer to your goal. And then maybe even a couple of years down the line, that person's looking to sell their business and retire, like Andrew just mentioned, and all of a sudden your overhead costs is significantly reduced starting up your business, because you can maybe not take over their business, but maybe buy a lot of their equipment at a heavy discount to get you going onto your own business. And just being out there and putting your dreams and aspirations into the world, will help you to manifest your vision, and to creating a business, to creating your art. You just can't do that alone in a vacuum by yourself. I think, getting out and even outside of your specific discipline, just going to networking events and, community impact can help you to meet people that lead you to other things. I've had several instances of where something I was working on led to something else, such as my experience, just participating in music has led me to, starting a nonprofit in 2018 with a group of people that I met through music. And it wasn't something that would have probably happened to me if I wouldn't have done that. So just being involved and open to receiving, I would say, in the community is super important.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's, networking is key. Networking is key in pretty much any industry you're in. You're going to need that. And so, I think you guys do a great job with your networking and plugging into the community. And there are a lot of resources out there, especially, I'm in Michigan in the Grand Rapids area, and this is like a huge hotspot for business owners. Like, people love it here because we love business owners. We love supporting small business, and we love supporting artists. And that's one of my favorite things about this area is just the community of support for artwork and creativity and music and dance is amazing, because there are places where it's not as appreciated, I think. And having that appreciation over that in the whole community is really key, especially for upcoming artists. So
yeah, you really can't get anything done in running a business as an artist if you don't have the community of people behind you. But we will say, if you're in a place where that isn't necessarily the case, of course you could start something physically, but the internet just opens up a whole realm of possibility for you to build a community and an audience online, because you could be out in the middle of Wyoming in a cabin, as long as you got internet connection, maybe even with Starlink or something like that, right? You could be, distributing and selling your art globally just from your own bedroom, right? So
Yeah.
there's there are great communities and like forums and blogs and social media sites that you can get involved with, but that's why we really think it's so important to create a community of creators that are focused on growing and expanding and allowing people to invest in what they're doing as a medium of growth for artists, because right now I think there's a very large disconnect between the physical and the digital for a lot of artists. And a lot of artists, even if they're creating some type of digital art, there's a real disconnect back to the physical world too, where like, how can I bring my creator content or digital aspect of my creation into like a physical product or a brick and mortar manifestation of what I want to do. And as we link that together, I think the key between that is that community, right? Like if you're online and you want to get into the physical realm more, you're going to need to know people in both spaces that'll help you to get there. So
yeah,
I definitely want to talk on the fact, TikTok, as it's recorded, is being recorded. TikTok is no longer available in the U.S. So for those who were on and build something on TikTok, I feel that, and I want just to remind anyone who has some sort of social, community, for those who do have a digital community, to find ways to take them to a more private community medium, like a newsletter, or there's plenty of other ways to find ways to make something more in control, so that you can just protect the community digitally. Because right now, we're feeling the effects of what it's like to lose a social media platform that has helped a lot of people with their entrepreneurship, for sure.
And as we're speaking, it's back. Where have you been? It came back this morning.
Oh, really? It's not back for me. I still can't get onto it.
No, it was literally
it's on for me.
It was shut down for like less than 12 hours. It's very strange, but what a time for creators to have to go through the thought of losing their medium. But let's play out the hypothetical here. Like if that would have shut down and that was your only source of community or access to people, you're not really serving yourself appropriately, because that is just one channel of reaching your audience. It's a one digital community that you have, but maybe some people on TikTok have been able to find a physical community, but I think it's good to diversify and have multiple channels to be able to reach people, because if that did happen, that could destroy your livelihood, and that's a big risk to your business.
I was talking with somebody the other day about just the generations that are growing up and coming. So, your younger 20s. Now I have to say younger 20s because I'm almost 30. But it's interesting, the connection between just the digital stuff. Like they are connected, but they're not connected. And I think there's a lot of value in the in-person connection. But truly, like, imagine, let's use my florals, for example. It's one thing to like see a picture of my flower arrangement, but it's another thing to hold it. It's another thing to look at it and to really actually to feel the emotions of the day from your wedding, and then you smell what the smell of the flowers looks like and feel the textures. And it's immersing yourself in artwork with people in that scope is just a different feel. And so I think, to your point, Jake, having a diversifying if you can, and another just another general business concept is knowing your market, knowing who in your community is going to connect with your artwork the best. Because you don't want to be the person that's like, I'm going to release this song for everybody, this is for everyone. It's like, no, if you really want to be profitable, if you really want to be specific and create art for somebody, you have to know who that somebody actually is. Otherwise, you end up chasing 17 rabbits and you're going to catch none of them, right?
And I will say too, you could create for yourself and then find people that resonate with your brand and your personality too. Because I think it, in some artists, like let's say like a caricature artist, like you're not, maybe you have your own little style, but you are specifically doing a task for someone. You're creating a picture of them. where, maybe a musician wants to write music that expresses themselves, where they're not trying to put something on for someone else necessarily.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have to do that to survive and make money sometimes, but I think that's an important thing too, is that you can go either way with that relationship, but you have to be intentional, I think, is the key.
Yes. Yeah. You have to know your artwork, and know yourself, and know who you can, exactly what you're saying, create it for yourself too. But when you find those people that really want to connect with you on that, jump in with that, because that's going to be your network. That's going to be the people that spur you on when you feel like, I can't do this anymore, and why am I even doing this? And there's going to be those times. There's a book I just read I actually have it next to me, but it's by Darren Hardy, and it's called The Entrepreneurship Roller Coaster. And it's a very businessy book, but a super easy read, in my opinion. And he just talks about all the different things that you go through as an entrepreneur, a business owner, the people that you're gonna, come in contact with, and how to handle that well, because it's gonna feel like ups and downs and things. But at the end of the day, like, you're doing something you love and you care about, and so you're going to want people on board on that roller coaster with you that are just as excited to be there with you, in whatever facet that looks like. Because you could have it for mine, it could be like, I have a team of floral designers down the road. For a musician, it might be their bandmates or their fans. Like, those are the people on that roller coaster with you, and you want to make sure that y'all are having a good time, because it's going to get crazy.
Yeah. And I think too, part of it is developing no pun intended, but your own sound, your own artwork. As the time goes on, you'll just kind of discover it. For those who are looking to get into something like this, I think it's okay not to really know. We talked about business plans earlier, and maybe you're just like, I don't even know what's kind of going on. I know I want to do something, but not sure what it is yet. And you can even bake that into your plans, just in exploration and figuring out what is going to work for you. Because it's, for me, I know my entrepreneurial path has been, I've had to throw things that I've developed something, and then I'll just delete all of it and start over again. And it's a hard transition to do, but if you're in the pursuit of your uniqueness, it requires some interesting kind of decisions to be made, which is a thing I want to bring up, which is a mindset. I know kind of before the call, we talked a little bit about mindset, and you mentioned a few times now. There's kind of those who come in and they kick tires, as you put it, or they talk. And I think there's probably even an individual or an archetype who does some of the preliminary things, but has some difficulty kind of picking things up and building the brand. And then I'm sure there's those who are absolutely crushing it. Kind of like, what's the mindset shift between maybe each of those archetypes, or how can you kind of change the perspective merely from going from a zero into a successful brand owner?
So I think for that's tough, because exactly what it is, it's different archetypes. So everyone's going to have a different strength and a different weakness. But I think one of the strongest drivers of people that are actually successful is that they have a vision in front of them, and they decide that I will not be denied. I will not be denied my dream. And they go chase that dream. Now there are success principles out there that will make you more effective at achieving your dream and vision. I think too, the other mentality, you just have to have a grit mentality, because you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get told no. You're going to encounter obstacles, but you have to have, this has to be right. Like, your dream has to be strong enough where nobody can shake you after that. Because successful entrepreneurs, this is in a book I read about just successful people, is that successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. And we kind of talked about it a little bit, but those non-productive times, those hours, unsuccessful average people spend their time doing easy average things, right? The people that really excel in any field, they're spending their time doing things that are meaningful, that, even seriously, just reading a book. Like, when I got out of college, I don't think I picked a book up for a long time until I met my mentors. And I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that literally don't read. And I don't know a single, we're talking billionaires, millionaires. I don't know a single CEO, billionaire, millionaire that doesn't read a book. So that by itself, that's a success principle, because you are setting yourself off the path of average already just by deciding to invest some time into building your mindset. You know, I might have went on a tangent there, sorry. But that's just, when I think about entrepreneur mindset and successful mindset, it's really sitting down and thinking, what are the masses doing? What do I need to do differently? And that's with anything. But that's my advice. So
If you're not sure where to find a mentor too, a book is like a little mentor. It's an indirect mentorship, right? Like this person that has a specific subject matter expertise that they're writing down, and most of these kind of self-help or business books or things of that nature, if you're looking to develop those parts of your expertise yourself, they're giving you the playbook on how to do that. If you read a good book by a CEO or by a motivational speaker or something, like they will walk you through the steps that are necessary to achieve the outcome that they're experiencing themselves. And a lot of times those authors are pretty chill, reasonable people. Like if you send them an email, I bet half of authors will respond to you. Now, maybe if you're like writing to Jeff Bezos, he's not going to respond to you. He's got some other things going on, but there's a lot of cool ways that you can reach out. And a lot of authors also create networks around their topic. Like if you're not familiar with James Clear, he's the author of the book Atomic Habits, and he has a newsletter that I read every week, and I follow all of his content, and he's actually really interactive with people too. So that's one example of how you can have a mentorship without maybe having a really formal direct connection with someone. Even if it's not specific to your field, like if you're an artist, like I highly recommend reading Atomic Habits, because the principles that are set in motion in that book will teach you how to develop patterns in your own life that will allow you to get done what you need to get done. So I think that's another paradigm shift too, is not just reading books about your specific field, but also just broadening your business acumen and broadening your personal development along the way as well.
yeah,
I love that idea of broadening your perspective. History and philosophy and psychology for me have been they're just the foundation of, I think, really the human predicament. So I highly recommend anyone just to pick up a book and read, fucking period. It's it's like whatever it has to be for you. I mean, I put that on a shirt. Yeah, I can put that on a shirt. Maybe just please effing read. Everyone would benefit from it, probably. No, I think this is great. This is even helping me. I'm taking notes right now. This is fun.
Well, oh, sorry, Jake.
I was going to say, Andy, can you talk a little bit more about how that has shifted your mindset with philosophy and spirituality, and how you bring that into your business career?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I kind of piece apart of each of these things. For me, history has taught me cycles. So it helps you, that naturally our human minds this is part of psychology, are prone, or most kind of our neurons are highwayed for fear and survival. Makes sense, right? That's how we survive, is fear. Fear gets us to do things. Rage and anger get us to change our environment. So allowing reading history, I've been able to step back and see some of these arcs amongst time, and able to see these kind of long-term outcomes. And it's helped me get out of my current small predicaments in these moments and step out of my body and think more holistically, which is allowing my brain to be more creative and innovative. So that's one. The psychology has been very crucial. So for what I do, consulting, working with individuals and with groups, we're all having these moments of communication, and it's my job to help understand deeper meaning. So psychology helps me kind of weed through all of these groups and habits and mental formations that people have, and that they project onto others and in their moments. So it helps me understand understand what it's like to really deeply listen to someone. It helps me differentiate. That's a big thing you hear about in psychology, is differentiation. James Campbell has the hero journey. You've got Carl Jung who talks about the hero's journey as well. These everyone goes through these cycles, and we all have these moments of separation, individuation, and so that's been huge for me just on a personal front, which affects everything that I do, including any sort of business, investments that I have, time, energy, money. And the last one is philosophy. That one helps me just get out of my head a little bit. I read philosophy just about every single day, and so that talk about kind of developing your own mental structures, that always helps you kind of question where your preconceived notions are and your limited beliefs. By reading some of these rather thought-provoking works, you're able to expand your knowledge far beyond even what you once thought was capable. So for me, once again, that bringing that into the world of business, that just enhances my creativity and innovation with this challenges. Every stinking day, I'm coming across these challenges that require some critical thinking, and I won't be able to do it as well as I do if it wasn't for just reading and investing my time into history, philosophy, and psychology. But now I love it. At first, I didn't like it one bit, but now I deeply enjoy it because I see the benefit. That's earlier. People tend to, we talked about people just not making that jump or making that commitment. It's because the first beginning part is fun and it's cute and it's pretty, like with any new habit, and then it fades and then the work begins, and that's when most people quit. But as you go along this journey, the good news is it's hard at first, but when you start seeing the results, like exercise, all of a sudden you're like, hey, it's actually kind of worth it now, and you just kind of keep building on that momentum. So I encourage everyone to read.
That's so good. I think one thing that I caught on for you as well is you're not just reading it, but you're actually applying it. And I think that's the biggest thing people miss out on is you could read 50 books in a year, but if you didn't apply a single one, then why did you read it? So you have to actually make the decision to invest, make the decision to move your feet, and then to your point, Andrew, you make the decision to not quit. And that's what gets, you think 5-10 years down the road, you didn't stop moving your feet. And now look at where your business is. Now look at how far you've come as an artist. And then you look back behind you and you see the guy that only stuck with it for 2 years and now they're back to square one again because they quit. And so I love the concept of outpacing people because, back to the fitness analogy, I didn't talk about this in my background, but that's a huge part of my life. And I've been lifting for almost 8 years now. And I'm 28, and I look at people that were top athletes in my high school class, right, way back when, 10 years ago, and they ain't looking so hot anymore, like they didn't take care of themselves. I wasn't the most skilled athlete, but I know because I never stopped putting the work in. I never stopped training my body and doing hard things that, I could probably do pretty good in a soccer match with them now, So just outpace people, have the mentality. I don't care what it is. I'm going to outpace you because my dreams and my visions are so big and I won't be denied. And you're going to end up in a really cool spot down the road if you have that kind of a grit and drive, really. So
I think continual action is important because, as someone who has a 9 to 5 in the corporate arena, sometimes in corporate, there's, let's circle back on this. Let's follow up on this. Let's, do this next time. But really, if you're in a meeting, you're planning something, you're working on something yourself, you have to take action, and you can't just say, oh, well, what would happen if I did this, or what risks are associated with this? Now, of course, you can't be totally reckless at the same time, but you have to just take action. One personal productivity trick that I really like is the swallow the frog, which is the concept of doing the hardest thing that you need to do first. So if I'm at my desk ready to work in the morning, what's the hardest thing that I need to get done today? And let's get that done. Then I know that I did something hard and I can feel that relief and appreciation of what went into it. And then it makes everything else the rest of the day easier, right? But at the same time, I think with procrastination or stagnation, we tend to not want to do that. We have this gravity of all these things going on, and I just want to do the littlest, more comfortable, easiest thing first. And I guess I just want to open up the floor to, in terms of mindset, like, why are people so afraid of failure? Like, why are we not willing to get discomfort in our lives? Why are we not willing to take action?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be quick so you can chat too, Andrew. I think people are used to being comfortable. We're in a world where everything happens like this all the time. So you get that tiny bit of friction point. It's just people don't want to deal with it. They're scared, and they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what's going to happen if I do this. But the only way you're going to overcome something is if you, exactly what you said, eat the frog and do it. And I'll tell you, like, that's something that sets you apart already, because the masses would say, let's just do the comfortable, easy thing. I'll send these 20 email replies back, and I'm not going to cold call my customer, But then the guy that's like, no, I'm going to cold call the customer first. I just got to win for the day. Now I can do anything. You're setting yourself up for success with that. But people are scared. And I mean, name me a person who likes being uncomfortable, or name me somebody that really truly just basks in being uncomfortable. I can't think of anyone.
David Goggins. No,
literally about to say his name, but I mean, he has one motherfucker, right? Literally. Yeah, they call him that. Yeah.
Read into his stuff though, if you haven't, though. Like, he was someone that went from a life of comfort to a life of discomfort. Really interesting. Check him out on a podcast. But David Goggins, look him up.
Oh, one thing I will say really quick, that this has helped me overcome a lot of uncomfortable situations, is 10 seconds of courage. If there's something you don't want to do, you have to count to 10, and before you hit the number 10, or you can count down from 10, whatever it is you got to do it. So for me, sometimes that's calling somebody, like in a sales example, if you have to cold call a customer that you're like, oh man, here we go. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, beep, and you're like, all right, here we go. So just 10 seconds of courage. That's all it takes to overcome something that you don't want to do.
I think oftentimes we get confused, like our monkey brains jump from 0 to 100 when it comes to threat. So when we think about, a cold call or public speaking or going up and meeting this person, or going into a random networking place and trying to just make friends, strangers to friends, and like we tend to think in our brain goes from like, oh my god, our heartbeat might increase, we might tense up, our nervous system might go into, our brain is confused. It thinks that it's actually under threat. It thinks that we're like, really something bad is going to happen. Only for the last, say, 1,000 years of tens of thousands of years of existence, or really anything in the animal kingdom, fear is meant for like life or death. Like, you are going to die. It's time to move. And I think recognizing that is the first kind of step. I think moving past it is that our body's going to have a reaction. That's totally normal, and that's all right. That's actually not even what it's about. It's about seeing that, recognizing that, and still acting. It's not being crippled by the thing and the feeling. It's then saying, oh no, this is exactly what I want to do. It is good for me. And so I'm going to go and do it. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be difficult, but at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it.
I mean, think about, has there ever been a time of adversity where you didn't overcome your adversity and then regret it? Have you ever overcame your adversity and been like, dang it, I wish I would have just taken the easy route? I don't think so, because adversity is what creates a stronger mentality. It's what helps you be successful. It's what helps you grow as an individual. And some people don't have the desire to grow as an individual, and that's okay. But I like to think all of the listeners here they're looking for a little bit more, and that they're people that want to grow. And so you got to believe that for yourself. Like, I am someone that wants to grow, and I'm going to go do what it takes to do that.
I think another reason that we're so afraid of failure now is because as a society, we've been so conditioned to be comfortable. Like, literally everything about our lives now, I always say this, like, you can just press your finger on a piece of glass, aka your phone, and have anything you want delivered to you, essentially, like any supplies that you need, any food that you need. any thing in the world is at your fingertips. So it's like, or if you go back to the monkey brain ancestral analogy here of our lives, eating the frog for our ancestors was like going out and killing a deer and harvesting vegetables all day. Like, we do not have to do that. I can just, do DoorDash, here's my food. Like, it's just too easy now. And I think, the hardest thing for some people is, making a difficult phone call that they're afraid of, or going to the gym at 6 a.m. before work, or something that is a shift in their mindset to what they normally have to do. And like Malia said, those hours outside of your core, work hours, if you do have a day job, those extra hours that you have need to be utilized if you want to grow, because you're not going to grow while you're sleeping. It is good to sleep. You need to sleep. But you're not gonna grow your business while you're at your other job. And if you are, you're checked out and you're not very effective at that job. So that's the only time that we really have to do it. And, getting started might just be, setting up a meeting at the SBDC, link down below, going outside of your comfort zone and talking to someone in the community that can give you a playbook on how to walk through this, or reading a book that gives you a playbook on how to walk through this. Sometimes I think just that action of getting started and getting over that initial, oh, well, what if this happens? I think entrepreneurs often think about the end state of their business too much, and they don't think about what they could do to get started. And I think that's even something that we've had on our internal Art Arbor team here, is we're looking to be a future platform for all of these grandiose things to happen. But we think about, like, what can we do today that will make a difference in someone's life or to achieve our mission? And like this conversation we're having right now is a great example of that. I could be watching football right now, but I'm on a podcast discussing entrepreneurship and philosophy and art. But that was the best British accent I had right there. But
that was great. I knew exactly what you're going for.
But I think it's just doing something is better than doing nothing. Like it's the physics of our vibration, right? Like my inertia will keep me in paralysis of doing anything if I'm just so anxious about, what if I fail? What if my business doesn't work? What if no one likes my art? What if I get audited by the IRS for my business? Like, all these things that could cause you fear. Just think about, what could I do right now? That's forward progress. That's something I can document and show for that advanced my personal mission and my personal vision for what I want to do.
Yeah. I mean, we gave a lot of really good nuggets today. And I guess, from a fitness background standpoint, it can be intimidating. Like, you're looking at your big end goal, right? Start with something digestible, start with something small, and then build upon that. Whether that's, maybe there's an affirmation sentence that you want to say out loud every day, and you just write out 7 boxes and you check the box every day that you say that. Start small, because then you're doing something and you're setting yourself apart from the masses already with something small that's achievable, that you have a personal attachment to, that you're excited about, and then build from there. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated. I just like to throw that out there, because I know entrepreneurship and, it can be intimidating, but if you, Atomic Habits, right? Go read that book if you want, but pick something that you can do every single day, do it consistently, add another layer when you're ready. Like, just start small.
Wonderful.
I think this was a really good conversation. I think there's a lot that we can pull out of it. I definitely feel like we could have some follow-up with you again someday, Malia. We'll have to have you back with some more ideas. But
please,
I think for today, that just feels like a good stopping point. I think that, you brought a lot of your own experience and ideas, and also concrete playbooks for people, such as the SBDC, or, these mindset shifts that people can implement. And I think that it's relevant for artists, or for really anyone, anything along the way in your journey. And just, I think it's important to be like holistically developed as a person, if you want to be able to create and like have the opportunity to do these things and put that time in your day to do the things that you enjoy. And Malia, I think you're a great example of that. Someone that's got all these different things going, that you're able to still run your business and do something creative that you're passionate about and that you can bring to others and bring your art into the world. I think that's great.
Thank you. Yeah. I guess I just have one final thought that I think will be helpful for the listeners. And I read somewhere that it takes 10,000 hours. I think it's 10,000 hours to master a skill. Have you guys heard that before? Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So 10,000 hours to master a skill. Everybody has 24 hours in a day. What are you going to do with your 24 hours? And that's all I have.
Sleep for 8 of them. Don't.
Yeah, of course.
Got to have that fuel. But I love that. And, everything that you do along the way will help you get to that point. So thanks, Malia. Thanks,
Thank you,
Andrew,
Malia.
for helping co-host today. This was a phenomenal episode of Rooted, the Art Arbor podcast. Definitely follow along with what Malia has going. We'll drop social media links, take some action,
give her a follow,
get a meeting going, read a book, and let us know what you think. But for now, we'll wrap the pod and we'll see you next time. Peace.